If you go to an izakaya in Japan, the menus generally consist of snacky foods like this. Can you hear that crunch? Oh, oh. Hey everyone, it's Kenji. We're making chicken karaage. So this is Japanese-style fried chicken. We ate this a lot growing up. There's a recipe for it in my book. I'm going to do a slightly modified version of it today, but you know, essentially it's chicken thigh. You could do it with breast as well, but chicken thigh that is marinated with soy and sake and ginger. And then you coat it in starch and you fry it. And in this case, we're actually going to fry it twice so that we get it extra crispy, which is it's a thing that works for virtually all fried foods. Even if you like go out to, you know, say a place and get some fish and chips and you don't finish off your fish and chips, or you have like a fried chicken leg that you didn't finish, the next day, you could eat that fried chicken cold, or you could fry it again at home and it comes out extra crispy. Even in an air fryer actually would come out extra crispy. It's also something I do frequently. I think in my General Tso's chicken video, I didn't do it. But it is something I frequently do with these sort of Chinese American style fried then sauce dishes because it helps them stay even crisper. It's standard practice on French fries. It's a good way to do your food. All right. So chicken, a little bit of sake, not too much. About a tablespoon of soy sauce. I think that this is like 3/4 of a pound of chicken. About a tablespoon of soy sauce. We'll do a scattering of salt and MSG. I'll do a little bit of white pepper in here also. And then finally some ginger. I'm going to cut some discs out of here. And then give them a whack. We want this pretty fine here, because we want it to kind of get into all the little crevices of the chicken. You could also do this on a ginger grater if you have such things. All right, ginger into the chicken. Get a couple chopsticks, and we're just going to kind of mix this up and make sure that everything is evenly marinating. At this stage, you could just immediately go straight to dredging and frying. But you know, the longer you wait, sort of the juicier your chicken will end up, because well, the salt and the soy sauce and the salt that you added are going to work their way in there. They're going to loosen up some of those muscle proteins and help them retain their juices better. There's also enzymes in soy sauce, proteases that break down proteins, you know, so when you marinate things in soy sauce, they tend to get a little more tender as well. If you're going to, you can leave it up to say 8 hours or so in the fridge, but I'll probably just let this go for about 15 minutes. That'll be enough to get you an effect. So I will see you in about 15 minutes. All right, so I'm going to get my dredging mixture ready. It's going to be an equal parts flour and potato starch. You could use cornstarch also, but I find potato starch gives you kind of, I don't know, like a glassier surface, if you know what I mean. Like if you've ever crunched down on a light bulb. It's an old school light bulb, an incandescent bulb, not one of these modern plastic LED things. And the ratio of flour to cornstarch that you use, or flour to potato starch that you use, that's also going to sort of affect the texture of the final fry. So the more starch you use, sort of the crisper it'll be. And the more flour you use, the sort of more, I don't know, crunchy. There's different words in Japanese for like various types of crispy and crunchy. But that's how I would define it in English, that starch makes things crispier and flour makes things crunchier. Flour will also sort of brown more than starch does. Here, we're gonna do this by hand. So we're gonna kind of drop the chicken in piece at a time while we're kind of shaking it around so that every piece gets coated. Whoop. And nothing sticks. So, you know, in my normal fried chicken recipe, I tend to add a little bit of the marinade mixture directly to the dredging mixture before I start adding my chicken in there, with the idea that, you know, you create these kind of craggy bits that give it more surface area. With karaage, on the other hand, though, you're not looking for that real sort of thick, crunchy coating that you get on, you know, American style fried chicken. It's really much more of a sort of eggshell thin, crisp layer on the outside that we're going for. So kind of chicken forward fried chicken. All right, we're almost done. All right, so then get another bowl, a strainer here. We'll dump our chicken in there and then just give it a shake off. All right, so our chicken has a very thin coating of starch on it now, not much excess. And so we're ready to go into the fryer. This is oil that's been heated to 375 degrees. I'm just using like a neutral oil here. And when we add all that chicken in, it'll obviously sort of drop in temperature. But we're looking for like a final frying temperature once the chicken's in, of maintaining at around 325 or so. You know, as long as there's sort of vigorous bubbling going on, we're in good shape. I always deep fry in a wok just because it gives you a lot of room to maneuver. You know, so we're going to get in there with the spider and make sure things are kind of moving around. And a wok makes it really easy to do that. Much easier than I find than like a tall-sided Dutch oven, something like that. You know, sometimes you'll find that you put in something that's a little bit too wet, or maybe it has like even some ice crystals on it, you know. And when that happens, you know, if you've ever done it, you know that oil tends to really bubble up and yeah, increase in volume. And with a tall-sided pan, you know, as the bubbles start to pile up, you know, there's only linear room for it to expand. It can only expand up because the sides are straight, and eventually it comes out. So there's not that much volume relative to the volume of oil left inside a tall pan. But with a wok, as the oil starts to rise, it also spreads out. So there's a lot more volume in the top of a wok, a lot more room for oil to sort of bubble out and expand. And a lot more surface area for those bubbles to hit the air and break. So just the likelihood of having a boil over in a wok is much, much lower than the likelihood in a tall-sided pan. All right, so you see I'm trying to keep everything moving around just so that it cooks evenly. And you're sort of also, by doing this, you're kind of making sure that, you know, all the chicken is kind of constantly being exposed to hot oil. I've turned my heat back up now to high just to make sure that the oil maintains its temperature. If you let this chicken kind of sit like this, what can happen is that like there's oil that's stuck between some pieces of chicken, or even some oil that's just right around the chicken. It doesn't get moved out of the way very quickly. So you end up with these sort of cooler pockets where the chicken's just not going to fry properly. So by moving it around, you kind of prevent all that. Let's double check our temperature here. I don't care about the core temperature. Yeah, so 275 to 300. As long as we got this sort of vigorous bubbling going on, we're good. So we want to fry this until the biggest chunks of chicken are cooked through, and we can just grab a piece out and see. That looks cooked through to me. Oh, I'm hot. Okay. All right, so that was the first fry. If you wanted to serve this chicken right away, you absolutely can. It'll be delicious. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the chicken cool down just a little bit, and then we're going to fry it again. You know, if you're doing this like for a party or something, the other thing you could do is that you can fry it in advance, you know, even up to a couple days, and just store it in your fridge. And then when you're ready to serve it, you can refry it or throw it in the air fryer. There's going to be oil on the surface, and so an air fryer would actually work pretty well for this. Okay, so I'm gonna let this rest for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll fry it again, and we'll see what we got then, okay? All right, so I'll see you in about 10, 15 minutes. All right, so our chicken's gonna go right back in. The oil is back up to 375 or so. The second fry is gonna be a quicker fry. It doesn't need to cook all the way through at this point. We're just trying to really re-crisp that surface. The reason this works, by the way, is because, you know, the first time you frying is really a process of, well, there's a few things going on. There's browning, you know, Maillard browning. There is protein setting, you know, so that's what is getting it that crisp texture. But then there's also dehydration. And so you can't really be crisp when you're also kind of wet. And so what happens is when you first pull it out of the fryer, that surface layer is really nice and crisp because it's really nice and dry. But then there's moisture immediately underneath that surface that as the chicken sits or as whatever you're frying sits, that moisture will start to kind of work its way out to the surface, and eventually that surface will get soggy again. So the thicker that sort of dehydrated layer on the outside, the longer your food's going to stay crisp. So by frying your food once and then letting it rest, the moisture from under the surface is coming out, it's saturating the top layer again, but then when you fry it a second time, there is overall less moisture left in the coating, so that top layer stays crisper. And that's how that works. All right, so just about another minute in there. You can see how nice and crisp this is now. The chicken was marinated, so we don't really need to season the outside of this. It should be nicely seasoned all the way through. Okay, but we'll just give it a little bit of a dab in this paper towel to get off excess oil. And then we're going to serve it. I got some Japanese mayo here, which I'm going to top with a little bit of shichimi togarashi, so like Japanese 7-flavored pepper. And then also do a couple lemon wedges. Let's do a little bit over the chicken too. This is, yeah, super classic sort of Japanese bar snack. So if you go to an izakaya, oh, hi plane. If you go to an izakaya in Japan, you know, like a bar where they drink beer and other bar type things, the menus generally consist of kind of snacky foods like this. And this is one of the more popular ones. Oh boy. Can you hear that crunch? We'll go lemon. Lemon and hot. Okay. Oh. Okay. Japanese style karaage. I think they serve this at beer places because it's salty and it's also really hot, and so it makes you want to, like, I wish I had something to drink right then. Anyway, it's just chicken thighs marinated with soy, sake, and ginger, and then dredged in potato starch and flour, a mixture, and then double fried. And it's real delicious and real easy. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, later. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Head over to KenjiLópez-Alt.com. There you can find links to join my Patreon. There's various tiers with different perks, but that's where you're gonna find all of my printed recipes. Most of them are for free. You'll also get access to special perks like new product releases, early access to things, live streams, AMAs. At KenjiLópez-Alt.com, you'll also find my shop where you'll find all of my books. You can get them signed and personalized, shipped anywhere in the world, as well as my products and product collaborations. You'll also find live event listings there. I do live events sometimes, and I'd love to see you come by. All right, see you later.